When we think of survival horror, few names hold as much as weight as Silent Hill. Notably, Silent Hill 2, considered the pinnacle of this franchise by many, defined the psychological horror genre and introduced some of the most unsettling themes back in 2001. Silent Hill 2 wasn't just about terrifying players with grotesque creatures, it was more than that. About delving deep into the darkest corners of the human psyche, the guilt, the sins of the past, and human emotions. Silent Hill 2 wasn't simply a horror game. Instead, calling it a horror game feels like diminishing its deeper, twisted aspects. First, I'm gonna keep it simple and easy. If you are just curious about Silent Hill 2 Remake, just buy it. If you're a veteran Silent Hill 2 enjoyer and not sure if Bluebird team nailed it or not, they did. There are some Silent Hill 2 moments that I found rather shallow within the remake, but overall, it is a faithful, passionate remake that also has its own moments. Silent Hill 2 Remake is a profoundly faithful reimagining of the original, but if you want to know more about this experience, I will gladly talk about it, and I hope you are also ready for this journey. I am Arcadenaut here, and today we will explore the remake of one of my favorite games. At its core, Silent Hill 2 tells the story of James Sunderland, a man who ventures into the foggy town of Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his deceased wife, Mary. James's journey starts as Mary says she will be waiting at their special place. However, James is not sure what Mary means. Driven by curiosity, confused by Mary's letter, we head into Silent Hill as a man who desperately seeks his deceased wife. James goes through hell and back as the town of Silent Hill reflects his mental and emotional state. Silent Hill is completely deserted, a heavy fog settled, and grotesque, indescribable creatures lurk all around. Sometimes they puke on you, sometimes they try to ambush James behind a door, sometimes they wander around the corridors of the Brookhaven Hospital. James is a flawed protagonist. He is not a former soldier, a detective, or something else. The first moment he sees a creature in a grotesque form, he picks up the nearest thing that he can defend himself with. And without questioning what's happening to him, he wanders and struggles deeper into the fog. In this cursed town, his interactions with the other characters, Angela, Eddie, Laura, and Maria, are all layered with emotional complexity. Bluebird team amazingly captured the voice acting and the facial expressions of each character, especially the psychological deterioration of each character, which is subtly woven into the environments and cutscenes. Whether it be Angela, Eddie, or Maria's influence on James, you get to feel something is amiss within these characters, and Silent Hill 2 starts to showcase each character's perspective and their issues with each step James takes. For the fans of the original Silent Hill, the original masterpiece story has the same impact. Again, some scenes and some boss fights have a bigger impact, and some scenes are kinda cut short or totally changed in a good way. If you're a newcomer, you wouldn't feel something's missing. But if you're a fan of the original, you will also find lots of things that feel fresh. But again, some scenes, some specific scenes including Angela and Mary, they are changed or rather skipped. These are tiny yet crucial details, additions that could have made Silent Hill 2 Remake the perfect, completely flawless experience, yet I still see this remake as a faithful, must-play experience. The added details in character interactions, combined with enhanced visual and audio design, also with additional thrill sequences, revisiting James's journey feel like experiencing it for the first time. As I said before, especially for the newcomers, Silent Hill 2 is a one-way trip. It would change you, maybe has a big impact on you, and probably ruin your day when you finish this masterpiece narrative. If you are still interested in what Silent Hill 2 offers, then let's talk about the atmosphere, the horror, and the gameplay before delving further into the abyss. One of the most crucial aspects of Silent Hill 2 was its atmosphere. The oppressive fog, the desolate streets, the eerie silence punctuated by distant, unsettling sounds that you get a grasp of, all of these elements combine to create a palpable sense of dread. The remake retains this atmosphere in all its glory while enhancing it with modern graphical fidelity and audio design. The buzzing, glitchy radio sounds still put you on edge, the fog is thicker, the shadows are darker, and the world feels even more claustrophobic during some of the areas. Brookhaven Hospital and Lakeview Hotel still feel the same, but the apartment section and the Abyss Labyrinth parts are totally overhauled and changed. Still, one of my favorite sections of the apartment area was a delightful, thrilling experience, but by all means, I guess my least favorite was the Toluca prison section. That part of the Silent Hill 2 remake didn't feel like Silent Hill 2-ish at all. It was something between Silent Hill Downpour and Evil Within, meaning that I won't be looking forward to doing that part of the section in my New Game Plus journey. On the other hand, just as I felt when playing the Resident Evil 4 remake, the Silent Hill 2 remake is really, and I mean really, accessible for newcomers to this genre. Of course, the sense of unease, the dark corridors, and the ambience might horrify you. However, as I played the Silent Hill 2 remake with normal difficulty, which was in fact a big mistake, Silent Hill 2 rewarded me with bountiful supplies, whether it be ammunition or healing items. If you play it for the first time and aim to delve into each room, opening every drawer, you will find yourself drowning in supplies. My mistake here was to do the same treatment as I always did with other horror games with survival elements. Thinking that I might have difficulty during a boss fight, maybe run out of ammo at some point or anything, but Silent Hill 2 Remake is quite generous. That doesn't mean that you should go all guns blazing, but still, if you feel threatened, it is no shame using your handgun or maybe your shotgun. You might even start relying on your weapons more when you reach the second half of the Havenbrook Hospital. Just a friendly tip from me. If you're not used to Silent Hill or any kind of survival horror type experience, as you navigate through the fog-covered streets, the crumbling apartments, and the rusted hallways of the hospital, it will be pretty hard to shake the feeling that something is always watching you, waiting to strike when you least expect it. In addition to that, what's remarkable about the audio design in the remake is how it uses silence to its advantage during some of the sequences. There are long stretches where there is no music at all, just the sound of James's footsteps echoing through empty halls or the distant rattle of something unseen. This lack of sound makes every noise, every faint growl, and every creak of a door feel amplified, adding to the tension. Plus, if you experience Silent Hill 2 Remake on PlayStation 5, the use of DualSense controls haptics and adaptive triggers add additional feeling to this experience. When you're close to the enemies, the controller vibrates, simulating the radio static that alerts you to danger. The haptic feedback enhances the immersion, making you feel even more connected to the world. The subtle rumble of the controller when James is low on health or when you hear a distant moan from a creature somewhere in the fog, it is this kind of attention to detail that makes Silent Hill 2 Remake stand out. The combat in Silent Hill 2 Remake strikes a delicate balance between retaining the tension of the original and modernizing the mechanics for a new generation of players. The melee combat and the dodge mechanics are literally the better, perfected version of Callisto Protocols. It is responsive, giving your reaction time to dodge any incoming attacks to sideways or by swaying further or back. As I mentioned, James is not a seasoned fighter. The sense of vulnerability is still very much present in the remake, but with lots of supplies for you to take if you do your exploration well enough. What I don't like much about the combat or the enemy design is some of the mannequins hiding behind the closets or doors, and then instantly ambush James whenever you get close or hold your flashlight at them. To be honest, this kinda feels cheap in terms of horror elements and difficulty. I would rather have tons of nurses or these mannequins wandering through the halls rather than being ambushed in a cheesy way. I'm not sure if newcomers would find this approach thrilling or scary. For me, it was kinda like a nuisance. Something more thrilling or challenging could have been implemented, in my opinion. Despite that, every encounter with the grotesque inhabitants of Silent Hill feels uneasy and puts you on edge. Unlike modern horror games that rely on fast-paced, action-heavy combat, Silent Hill 2 Remake still takes a more measured approach. As for me, as a veteran Silent Hill fan who finished all Silent Hill games over and over again, maybe nearly once a year, one of the most exciting aspects for me was how much Silent Hill 2 Remake felt refreshing. How it managed to expand upon the original without detracting from its core. In terms of this, it really feels like a sibling to Resident Evil 4 Remake. Bloober Team has added new areas to explore, new puzzles to solve, and even new story elements that enhance the overall experience. One of them is really, and I mean really disturbing to see, enhancing the impact of the main plot of Silent Hill 2 and holding a brighter light on James' psychology. These additions don't feel like unnecessary additions to make Silent Hill 2 longer, but rather like natural extensions of the world and narrative that feed seamlessly into the game. I am unsure if some of these additions were original cut content from the 2001 Silent Hill 2, but I really felt the passion of Bloober Team trying to expand this twisted world while being faithful to what's originally intended to be told in this narrative. As for some concrete examples, some of the interior locations such as the apartments and the hospital have been expanded to include more rooms, hallways and hidden areas. All rewarding if you're up for some exploration, whether it be references to old Silent Hill 2 or some Polaroid photographs which still haven't been discovered but possibly leading to one of the new endings that Bloober Team implemented. Silent Hill 2 Remake has 8 different endings, 3 of them obtainable through your initial playthrough and the rest of the 3 only obtainable through New Game Plus, and the remaining 2 still being unknown, added by Bloober Team and most possibly obtainable through these past references and maybe Polaroid pictures that James can only find by doing excessive exploration, looking at every drawer, each corner. These changes give Silent Hill 2 more depth and allow for additional exploration without losing the claustrophobic, oppressive atmosphere that defines this experience. One of the most important that Silent Hill 2 managed to achieve is that, for newcomers to the Silent Hill series, this remake is the perfect entry point, possibly what the franchise needed for it to be reborn from its ashes. Silent Hill 2 might seem like a sequel, but you don't need to know anything about Silent Hill lore or about the first game to enjoy and experience James's journey. You do not need to know anything about the cult of Silent Hill or what Henry Mason did in the prequel. No, Silent Hill 2 works remarkably well as a standalone experience. That is, oddly enough, being connected to Silent Hill for the room some way. You don't need prior knowledge of the series to appreciate the story or understand the characters. In fact, the remake is designed in such a way that it welcomes the newcomers while still rewarding longtime fans with its faithful recreation of the original, whether it be the gameplay, the horror elements, or the characters. And if you enjoy this experience, you will join us, finding yourself desperately seeking a way to play other games, or hope Konami plans to remake another Silent Hill. And I hope they do. I wish to see Silent Hill 1, Bloober Team remaking it, presenting Henry Mason's story. On the other hand, for the fans of the original Silent Hill 2, the remake is a love letter to the game they fell in love with all those years ago. You can be sure that Bloober Team has gone to great lengths to ensure that the essence of the original is preserved. I also had my concerns about Silent Hill 2 remake when I first saw the teaser trailer and thought to myself, maybe they are taking a darker, more depressing approach, and it might be best to evaluate Silent Hill 2 remake as a different game from the original. However, the end result ended up to be quite the opposite. The original Silent Hill 2 will always hold a dear place in my heart. However, I might pick the remake from now on whenever I want to revisit James's story and would like to unlock a different ending, rather than booting up my Silent Hill HD collection on PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360. Maybe some of the Silent Hill fans have concerns due to Bloober Team's past works. I think you have to be a narrow-minded Silent Hill perfectionist to hate Silent Hill 2 remake. Silent Hill 2 does not rely on cheap jump scares or over-the-top action to keep players engaged. It still has that eerie, discomforting sound and visual design with confused, twisted characters, just like it was. There are some, of course, missing opportunities here and there, but overall, it's a remake well done. Needless to say, Silent Hill 2 remake is more than just a tribute to the original. It's a masterful reimagining that stays true to its roots while offering something new for both Silent Hill fans and, of course, for the newcomers. There's a delicate balance, delivering a modern horror experience that respects the game's legacy without compromising its soul. Whether revisiting James Sunderland's haunting journey or stepping into Silent Hill for the first time, the remake ensures that the story's dread, mystery, and emotional weight will stay with you long after you have left the fog. It's a must-play, a faithful remake that hopefully brings back the Silent Hill series that we all missed. Thank you for watching today's video. If there is any other Silent Hill title would you like to see next, be sure to share them by the comments below. Any humble support through Patreon and YouTube join is really appreciated, and I will see you soon in our spatial place.